like, if I see a red flag, I would really consider, like, just ending it, because it seems like in dating, okay, if you could see it in dating, first of all, don't be blind, because when people are so in love, like, you don't even see anything, and everything is just all good and positive.
We'll get to that moment, and then we'll talk about
Oh, man.
We'll wait for that moment.
We rebuke you, brother.
But that is interesting, though. In the dating process, everything is so cute.
Yeah.
And like
everything's
fluffy
exciting.
and
No, you
exciting.
see it, but you're willing to ignore it a lot of times.
Yeah,
You'll be like,
it's not that big of a problem.
We can
like,
fix that. We can fix that.
We can live with
I'll
that.
live with that. I'll help him through that, you know.
But we don't realize, like, in marriage, like, the problem just amplifies, doesn't it?
It does.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Because now, like, because I think a lot of times, and I always say that, a lot of people when dating, you really start to see who they are after 90 days. And I feel like that's the longest somebody can really pretend who they are. And then they start getting comfortable and they start like, okay, I can kind of be myself. You know, they're in it, you know, we're falling in love and stuff like that. And I think that's when people feel like they have you locked in, that's when they start to reveal a little bit of who they are. And they're still trying to hide a little bit. And then I think, unfortunately, marriage seals the deal because, you know, most believers don't believe in divorce. So they're just like, all right, well, they're probably not going to divorce me, so I can just let it all loose and be who I am. Yeah. You know.
So what are some signs to look for then in the dating process? What are some things that people should look for to be like, you know what? Nah, I don't think this is
inconsistency.
Yeah, like what are signs? Because it still hasn't like really been answered yet. Like
so inconsistency.
What are signs where like you can work with the guy through it, and what are signs that you cannot work the guy or girl through it with?
Not through it, inconsistency.
What do you mean by that?
Like, so say, because I've dated consistent, inconsistent. Inconsistent is you'll talk one day, everything will be fine. The next day you'll call the person, text that person, you don't hear from them. Maybe a day or two later, they'll text you or call you and they'll have an excuse. And then you're like, okay, you know, things happen. And then you start noticing that pattern. And you're just like, okay, you're not being consistent. And inconsistencies shows me you're not interested. Because, I mean, we're all busy. You know, there are doctors, lawyers, the president. They make time. They are married. You know, they have time.
She went to the president, bro.
I know, she went all the way to the top.
But I'm saying, if the busiest person in the United States can have a family, so can these people that claim like, it's just like the excuses, you will be
amazed.
Yes, you will. And you'll just be like, did that really happen? And, you know, but unfortunately, that's also a sign of someone who may be inconsistent in other areas of their lives too. Right. You know? And it's just like, if I'm a priority, then that priority, you know, I'm every day. How do you be in pursuit of somebody and you don't think about them every day? You know, if you go a day without thinking about me, then you're definitely not the one.
So if he shows, again, I'm just throwing hypotheticals. The girl guy shows consistent liking, interest, initiative, all that, checked all boxes, but struggling in personal discipline, personal walk with God. Despite that consistency, is that something you think that not just you, but you think that the average person should try to dabble with?
It depends
or should try stay away?
It depends, because there's depths to that, you know.
Well, like I said, like the guy's from red to orange right now, and he's just going back.
Oh no. Is
it not like going like
he's making improvement?
Like making improvement.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I think, that also helps to determine how long we're going to be dating versus dating to being engaged and engaged to marry.
Mm.
Because you want to see that that person has made improvement
Mm-hmm.
before getting into marriage. Because some people will just like they'll change for a week and then they'll go back to the same
I agree.
behaviors.
Yep.
So you need to see consistency.
Mm-hmm.
If you're seeing inconsistency,
Mm-hmm.
you have to show me long term consistency. And not saying that somebody's going to change overnight, but you just need to see the effort. You need
Right.
to see the effort,
Okay.
and you need to see the fruit.
That's fair. 100%. What do you think? You say you
For
agree with
me,
that?
I mean, I agree.
Well, some things that you think like is a complete no go, despite it being orange or going
Despite
into
it.
yellow and green. There's gotta be something, man. Let's be real right now. Come on.
I don't
Doesn't
know.
speak Korean.
Oh, something we talked about earlier
Huh.
may not be exactly your type,
My type.
like look wise.
I mean, that's fine. Samuel.
I didn't say that, man. I was being so quiet that the mic wouldn't pick it up. I didn't look at David.
Your
I
expression
think
said
honestly,
it
you got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
comes down to being honest with yourself and what you're willing to put up with and deal with. I think,
Right.
like she said, Joyce Meyer's husband, the
Yeah,
example
yeah.
you gave, for him, he was willing to put up with certain things or had the grace to deal with that amount of issues
Right.
with, his spouse.
Mhm.
And so I think some people can't handle pressure like that. Some people, based on how they grew up, there's just different things. That's why I think it is important to know who God has connected you with, because I think some people just can't handle it. If for some people, when it comes to drinking, it may be like, yo, I can't deal with that, because they may have grew up in a certain household where it's like, for me, I can't put up with that. Whether it's smoking, abuse. Now, I think there should be some hard cutoffs where if you're dealing with a man that's just hitting you upside the head and, has certain anger issues, like there's just certain things I think, should be a hard cutoff.
Yeah.
But you got to be honest with yourself in knowing where you are and what you're willing to put up with and what God has given you the grace to live and how to move forward
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
I think that's perfectly the way you said it. Like
Mhm.
I was along the lines of something else, but then when you said that, yeah, like I agree fully, because I believe that everybody should obviously be given more than second, 2, 3 chances,
Absolutely.
And I think that not that it's your duty, not that it's your, thing, responsibility, but I think that if you're in a better place than somebody else,
Mhm.
You should help them. Obviously, I'm still growing, learning, and all that
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Many more experiences to be had, but I think from where my testimony and how I'm growing up, I think if you're in a position to be able to help someone, you should. At the same time, like what you just said, is that God will give you that grace, and I think maybe using that as a like a measurement,
Mhm.
using that as a measurement is probably the best measurement that you could probably use.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, granted that this situation hypothetical that we are speaking about is that the person is walking in line with God, at least one person walking in line with God, and have that all sorted out. And then if God gives you the grace to help that person out, I think that should triumph your preference of maybe I don't want to deal with this,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because there are times as well where that certain relationships, good or bad, is there to teach you a lesson.
Right.
I believe that, you know. My previous relationships were not great, but it definitely taught me so many lessons. It gave me so many unnecessary experiences, but from that experiences, God has taught me how to empathize, how to sympathize, how to walk people in that certain area with, you know. And did that hurt me? 100%. You know, did that hurt my family? 100%. But did God give me the grace to go through that? 1,000%. So I think maybe now we're getting somewhere in this question, where in terms of like red to orange and all that kind of stuff, if God gives you the grace to go through that, that should triumph your preferences.
Oh yeah.
You know, because you know, I if it was me personally, right, like, I'm not saying my type, that's my type, but I'm saying that obviously, you know, I mean, let's be real, like, a person with a big testimony is attractive, right? 100%. And sometimes some people's testimony is still in the making, still working on his testimony. And for me wise, I would like to work with my wife to be's testimony and she on mine too. You know, like growing up, there was this like kind of, so I'm into football, right? Soccer, right? Football. And, you know, David Beckham, worldwide star. You see all these football players have all the money, have all the power, all the influence, and they can get any girl they want, anybody they want, they could get, you know. But David Beckham, man, David Beckham, you know, worldwide superstar, you know, son, like, amazing son of God, that guy is, you know, and he's stuck with one girl from the very beginning of his career, and for her as well, she's stuck with one guy. Both of them had so many stories, so many problems. David Beckham more than Victoria, but still they both stuck to each other. They build together themselves, their family, their relationship. They build everything together, right? And look at where they are now. One of the most influential families in the world, as more than America right now, because he bought the football club and all that.
Oh, okay.
And so I always fantasized that kind of story. Like, I personally, if you ask me, I actually would not want a fully ready-made 10 out of 10 wife. You get what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Like, I would want something so that I can help her with as well, and she with me as well. You know, but a lot of times in especially India, maybe not India, but Asian culture maybe, like, you gotta be a 10 to even think about getting married. You get what I'm saying? Like, if you're not even a 10, don't even think about getting married.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how realistic that is, though.
That's kind of discouraging if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't think that's realistic at all. I mean, everybody has a testimony. Now, that's a great point, man. I definitely, and that's a lot of times very few couples are able to make it through that. And you hear those stories, and it's very encouraging to see. You know, I've heard of many couples who didn't know the Lord. They both were in the world. One came to the Lord, like just like drugs, all kind of stuff. One came to the Lord, the other one came, and you know, by God's grace, they were both able to come out of that. And so, I mean, when you hear those stories, it's so encouraging.
100%.
And by God's grace, you know. But again, I think it goes back to if that's not for you, then don't try to create that.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't try to create that, because it sounds good. Like, just like when you watch these love stories and different things, you know, I think stay in your lane for where God's called you. Everybody has different testimonies and what they've experienced in life, and you know, and build your own testimony in your own journey. I think that's important too.
It's true, because when you start comparing to this couple or that couple, or it should be like this, or even for me, I used to love watching rom-coms.
Oh my gosh.
And no, but it makes you enter into fantasy land.
You okay?
You know, as innocent as
She's not okay. You need a tissue. Take your time, man.
hold your arms up.
That's it.
Mama, take mine.
This will all be in the edit, though. By the way. That's a real long cough, man. You
I
okay?
feel like you should just let it out. You're holding
Yeah.
Right. Just let it out.
Too emotional. Too emotional.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no,
No,
Cut you
you're
right
fine. You're fine.
Ah.
We want this as unfiltered, as casual as possible.
Okay, I think I'm okay.
Okay.
Probably just watch the cable right there. It's below your feet, behind your feet. Yeah.
Yeah. But Fantasyland, growing up watching Disney princesses.
Fantasyland.
Yeah, no, you enter into Fantasyland sometime for women, especially when you watch a lot of love stories, the happily ever afters, and you know, you think that because it's always the cliche story, the girl who is looking for love or had her heart broken, she has to end up going to a family
Oh
member.
my god, are you
wedding.
okay, man?
She's like, I know these stories too well.
And?
Okay.
But it's just that typical story. They go through all this stuff. They meet a guy. They hate the guy. They end up falling in love. And then they end up in a fight because somebody wasn't honest. But then they get back together and they live happily ever after. And that's not the case. Because then you start to draw from that and put these expectations on the person you're dating or even the person you're married to. And I stopped watching them. But there's this one movie, and it's not a Christian movie, so I probably shouldn't even reference this. But
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
okay.
but I think it is.
Wait, what movie is it?
It's called He's Just Not That Into You. And technically, this movie is like taking you through how women are oblivious to when a man is really not interested in them. And I think even men could take from this movie how you look at, you're like dating this person or you're pursuing this person. They're clearly showing you that they're not interested, but because of the encouragement of the people around you saying, oh, you know, they probably meant this or they probably meant that, you know, and in actuality, that person was just not interested. And how they finally get to that place, well, you're kind of like stalking the other person because of all these encouragements, or you're just overlooking all of the cues that the person wasn't interested. And I think it will actually help you in that sense, that sometimes I kind of lost train of thought, but it helps you in the sense that to be more mindful of cues when dating, and also not expecting to have a happily ever after in the sense of what you see in movies or in the world, where we have to have a kingdom-driven mindset where, because even the Lord had to show me with Anthony. Yes, Anthony is my husband. I love Anthony, but God is first. And in that,
You have to say it like that.
I mean, but he is.
God
You know,
first.
That hit the heart, brother.
no, that was like one of my
You
fears.
guys be driving back.
when
God's
we first,
huh?
when we were dating, that was my fear.
Yeah.
How am I going to be able to love Anthony and love God as much as I love
That's a
God?
Good, that's a good.
And I was so scared. I was just like, just didn't know how that was going to be, because I always felt like, oh, you can't, be in love with, more than one person at the same time.
Right.
But then when I fell in love with Anthony, it was a different love. Like, the love that I have for the Lord, like, no one could ever, like, match that. And then I have my love for my husband, and it was just like, okay, wow. All right, this is, it is possible, but, the love that I was receiving from the Lord was the love that I was able to extend to my husband. And, you have to be able to
be an extension.
Yes, yes. The connection is, and that's why it says that, God is that third strand that binds you together.
Right.
And, not that, oh, it's you two and then there's the Lord. But no, the Lord brings us together. He keeps us woven together. And if you guys don't have that foundation on the Lord, then you're not able to receive God's love, where God's love helps you to produce the right love to love that other person. And I think that even ties into the grace that is needed for those red flags or the orange flags that some people may not be able to deal with, but others are. And when you start dating, when you are seeking the Lord in that process, God will give you the revelation. He will point out that person that is for you. And through that, he will give you the wisdom on how to even pursue that relationship and how to, how long that relationship is even supposed to be. Like Anthony and myself, we met in January of 2019. We got married June 2019. And some people will say, oh, that's so short. You guys rushed it. But we both separately sought the Lord. And God told us that that was the time that we were supposed to get married. Fast forward, 2020, COVID happened. We wouldn't have been able to get married. And then in 2020, God moved us from New Jersey to North Carolina. How would that have happened if we never would have gotten married? So it's really seeking the Lord and allowing the Lord to lead you in every area, from dating all the way to marriage, and then even throughout your marriage.
No, those are really great points you brought up, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. And one thing that you mentioned about marriage, you have to be really intentional about it. And our journey is different. Everybody's journey is different.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have counsel, wise counsel, especially when you're seeking out marriage. It's very important to have, a pastor, someone that can, that has experienced it, that can give you biblical counsel, wisdom. I think it's very important to have that, to have a group of friends that's going to be honest with you and give you some wise counsel as well in that process of dating into marriage. At the end of the day, everybody would love a happily ever after, and I think honestly, when it comes to our happily ever after, that's, if we want to take it there as believers, that's us being with Christ.
Yes.
And walking in his perfect will. And of course, the journey with our husband or wife, we want them and our children and our family to walk in pursuit of that. But to get there, there's going to be trials, there's going to be different things that we have to face in order for us to even grow in those areas. And so, I hope that you guys were encouraged by this, and we're able to take away some nuggets. We're able to laugh, and we're able to get some different perspective, on things. I know I did, especially about the red, orange, yellow, and green. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
I know, man.
He's
Bruh.
single, ladies. You see that?
Perspective,
That's
bro.
wisdom. That's
Wisdom.
wisdom
God
is
has-
just pouring out of
God
him.
has blessed me with a different type of mind, brother.
And fellas,
Yeah.
Yes.
fellas.
Not,
Watch out for
not
her.
Asian.
Make sure-
not Asian.
Make sure
Oh,
she's
no.
Anyone besides Asian.
Yeah.
hey, you never know.
You never know. What we learned today is that the God's grace will give it unto you. Okay, that's what we learned.
That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. But one thing I did want to say is I feel like I do want to share that to the point of when it comes to, you know, either having the red flags and whether you're willing to see that person grow to the green, you know, I would say don't feel pressure to feel like you have to save this person.
Like it's your responsibility.
Because at the end of the day, only God,
Mhm.
you know. And so I would say don't put yourself in a situation where you feel like you have to save this person.
Right.
Because that's not our job to save anyone. Christ died on the cross for our sins and to save us.
Yeah.
And so, you know, always bring it to the cross, bring it to Christ. And, you know, you may have had different experiences where you feel as though you can help them through prayer, through talking and walking them day to day. But I just wanted to just make that clear because I feel like sometimes people could kind of fall into that and feel like, man, I feel like I got to save this person and it's my duty to.
Yeah.
Unless the Lord actively says that
For
this is
sure.
a person you're supposed to be walking through with.
Yeah.
Right.
If not, do what you can,
Yeah.
but don't feel like it's on your head or something.
Right.
Yeah. Is it an assignment or is this actually the person you're supposed to be with?
Yeah.
You know.
Assignment versus destiny
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
are two different things.
100%.
If this is part of your destiny, in order for this person to get where they need to go and for you to grow, that's different than assignment. And I think knowing the difference is very, very vital. So
Amen.
100%.
we love you guys, and
Oh, gosh.
you can't do nothing about it.
No. There's a red flag right there. Right?